Attending Professor Hu's public lecture was really a unique experience. Nothing like I've learned or experienced in class or in my own lectures this year in university. As he began to speak about the science of eyelashes, which already threw me off guard, and how generally longer eyelashes will keep all mammals' eyes from drying out, he then directed that concept to a real life situation, specifically the Mars rover, which was that the more we know about eyelashes and their multiple purposes, the more we can apply these ideas to real life issues. In this specific case, the Mars rover, how it got really dusty and there was tons of dust that we couldn't really manage something like that from another planet. So it was really interesting to see how something like eyelashes and the Mars rover could even be connected. At this point, I was really intrigued because he was taking real scientific discoveries and directly connecting them to problem solving, a topic that I have always been fascinated with. Something that really appealed to me was how he explained the importance of making science education interesting for the public. To educate people in their everyday lives, you need to use really unique mediums to get your point across and make sure that there is a constant appeal. I really like the example he used when he showed a Saturday Night Live clip as an example where they, to quote, spew 90% just funny crap and then they fit in 10% science. And specifically, the science they used, he referred to in this example, they were talking about the eyelashes length having an effect on eyes drying out and things like that. So, personally, I wholeheartedly agree with the idea that the best and most effective way to get scientific topics across to young, millennial audience, this is it. This is the best way. And I know from experience that there are hundreds of ways to throw in fascinating little factoids about, the most random things. And this is not something a new discovery by any means. This specific thing I'm talking about, there's a it's definitely like important though that especially if there's a humor element, I could see scientific facts, all over social media or any outlets or any news. Um, there are already Twitter accounts, specifically one that I know of is called Uber Facts, and that's not definitely not the most credible source, but it gives some really bizarre, interesting facts. Tons of them every day, and they always come around. I always come around to see them every now and then. So it's definitely something that is present, but I really like to think that it could really evolve and we could start seeing videos, like 20-second crazy clips, 20-second whatever, because everyone wants to know why. Why is a big question, and that's what I think Professor Wu was talking a lot about in this lecture towards the end. Overall, the way Professor Wu spoke so passionately about this idea of incorporating some humor, some fascination, especially the idea that you have to throw in a higher percentage of random crap that doesn't really make any sense, or not make any sense, but doesn't really have any science involved, and then you can throw in a little science in it. That's the most interesting part to me. Anyways, the way he spoke so passionately about it really encouraged me to think more in depth about the whole idea and how it could work in real life, applications. Finally, he got into the topic I was most skeptical about, which was urination. It was pretty unusual to find myself thinking about the flow of different mammals' urine, especially how it would work. But what I learned eventually was some animals, such as rats or really small mice or something, are only able to urinate in droplets, meaning they physically cannot like urinate in streams. Something I never thought of or never really cared to know until I found out how this was connected, which leads me into the idea that cows or elephants obviously have like much more pressurized streams of urine, so they can fill up buckets compared to a mice. But the really interesting fact about this, what made this experiment that he described come together was, in the end, the duration which all animals urinate was nearly constant, and that's because every animal had a vastly different rate of urination. And then eventually explained how Torricelli's law applies, and he really simplified the experiment that he did with his PhD or his master's students, so that I really understood a basic idea. And that was another thing that really impressed me about his speech. It really impressed me that such an unusual subject that I never paid attention to could really, it made sense to me the first time he explained it. So that was really interesting to see, and it really encouraged me to like, um, wonder what it was like to be a researching scientist, 4 or 5 years from now. And all in all, I really enjoyed my first public lecture. I got to see an experienced researcher and professor discuss, the whole idea Not Just Your Nation, which I really liked how he diversified his speeches. And I like to see how he reacted with an audience, how he was really social and had good skill interacting with us. And also that I was introduced to this new idea about throwing 90% crap, 10% science to educate, to mass educate people. And that is my review.